Yo, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of the SWUS MLB Friday. Having a rough baseball week, me personally. Had a losing day Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. As I'm recording this on Thursday, I am 1-0, so hopefully by the time you're watching this, I turned that around. But yeah, they got off to such a strong start this baseball season. We're having a rough week, so hopefully that ends immediately. But yeah, in this video, Baltimore at Kansas City. Let's do it.
Welcome to the SWUS. The SWUS. SWUS. Hey, get the SWUS.
All right, like I said, O's on the road in KC. Royals are short home dogs here, plus 118. Total sitting at 9. On the mound for Kansas City, Alec Marsh. On the mound for Baltimore, you got Dean Kramer. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet, and according to the model, we got a slight lean on Baltimore in the first 5 and a big lean on Baltimore in the full game. Final score 6 to 3.5, according to the model. So let's start out with the matchup for Marsh against the O's offense. Marsh's career numbers obviously don't look that great. He was pretty terrible to start his career last year. Through 20 career appearances, he's got a 5.44 ERA and a 1.47 WHIP. He's off to a much better start this season. 4.32 ERA and a 1.08 WHIP. 1.08 WHIP is very good. 4.28 expected FIP. That's solid. I mean, not great, but not bad. But before we get any deeper into this one, we need to mention that Alec Marsh already shut this lineup down this year. 7 innings, 1 run. I think it was 2 hits. He was absolutely dominant against Baltimore earlier in the year. So he's seen this lineup, and he performed well. One angle I really like here for Marsh is how dominant he's been against left-handed bats. Now, normally with a right-handed pitcher, they tend to be better against right-handed bats, but Marsh has been dominant against lefties. On the season, lefties are hitting just 184 off him with an 0.88 WHIP. He's got an 0.88 WHIP against left-handed bats. Against righties, they're hitting 400 off him with an even 2 WHIP. So much better against lefties. And the reason I'm bringing that up, Baltimore's going to have 7 lefties in their lineup. 7. They're going to be loaded with lefties, and Marsh has been dominant against lefties, so I really like that for Alec Marsh. But that being said, there's also a couple things that really scare me here for Marsh. Number one being he just never seems to pitch well in this ballpark. On his career at home, he's got a 6.47 ERA. Opposing batters are hitting 3.06 off him when he pitches at home in Kansas City with a 5.02 expected FIP. His numbers on the road, not that they're elite, but they're definitely better than his numbers at home. Also, he's pitching against Baltimore, who's looking like one of the better lineups against right-handed pitching. So far in the season, the Orioles are 3rd in average, 3rd in OPS, 1st in isolated power, 2nd in WRC+. So this is a top 1, top 2 lineup against righties so far this year. And it's also an Orioles lineup that we know we can trust on the road. Over the last 2 seasons, they're 11th in average, 7th in OPS, 5th in isolated power, 8th in WRC+ on the road. And they're off to a similar start this year, 7th in WRC+, 9th in OPS on the road to start the season. So making a prediction on this particular matchup, it's tough here. I mean, you got Alec Marsh on one hand. He gets rocked at home. The O's have been one of the best lineups in baseball against right-handed pitching. But on the other hand, Marsh has been absolutely dominant against left-handed bats, and the O's are going to have 7 lefties in the lineup. So kind of pretty extreme angles on each side there. I personally think Marsh is going to pitch well. I think we can trust Marsh here. The other matchup is Dean Kramer against the Kansas City offense, and Kramer really turned his career around. His first 2 years in the big leagues were pretty rough, a 6.84 ERA. This is 2020 and 2021. He had a 6.84 ERA and a 5.58 expected FIP. But the last 2 years, those numbers are much better. ERA down to the 3.74 with a 4.38 expected FIP. This year, he's off to a decent start, I guess. I mean, the ERA isn't great, 4.96, but a 1.22 WHIP is solid. So he's not allowing a ton of guys on base, which means that ERA should probably come down. We can take a look at Kramer's splits against righty and lefty batters. He's much better against lefties, just like Marsh. We got 2 righties pitching who actually are much better against lefties. But the thing is, Kansas City isn't a lefty-heavy lineup like Baltimore is. Only 4 lefties in the lineup for Kansas City. But still, the numbers are dominant. Righties are hitting 351 off Kramer, just 156. That's what lefties are hitting off him. Unlike Baltimore, Kansas City is not a top 3 lineup against right-handed pitching this year. In fact, they're all the way on the other side of the spectrum. 29th in average, 28th in OPS, 12th in isolated power. They're hitting with some power, but 28th in WRC+. I will say, though, this Royals lineup has been much better at home to start the season. Now, it's still a small sample size, but on the road, Kansas City, 28th in WRC+, 27th in OPS. At home, 10th and 4th. So we're talking night and day difference when Kansas City's bats are on the road versus when they're at home. So we got to ask ourselves about the recent Royals hitting slump. Is it just because they went on the road and they're struggling to hit on the road, and now that they're back home, are they going to start hitting again? Or were they actually just off to an unrealistic start and cooling off? It's really a personal judgment. They haven't been particularly good against Kremer's pitch mix. Dean Kremer throws a four-seam fastball, a cutter, a splitter, and a curveball. Kansas City against those pitches, 18th, 20th, 16th, and 16th. Not good, not bad, pretty middle of the pack across the board. Personally, how I feel about the first five, I'm not the biggest Dean Kremer fan, and I think the Royals bats, now that they're back at home, should wake up. So I like the Royals here in the first five. I like Marsh to pitch another good game against Baltimore. Give me Kansas City in the first five here. And when we pull up the bullpen battle, this is where the edge goes back to Baltimore. I know ERA, it's 10th versus 12th, so you might think these two bullpens are close, but look at expected FIP. Baltimore's been incredibly unlucky according to these metrics. Kansas City's been incredibly lucky. So according to advanced metrics, the Baltimore bullpen is much better than Kansas City's, at least it is to start the season. So I'm going to stick to the first five. Give me Royals first five here. Live show, 4 p.m. Eastern time. Me, Toast, Prop Beaver, and Kamish. We're going through every single game, all 16 of them. If you're able to make it, we'd love to see you in the comments. If you want my top bets for NBA or MLB, or the top bets for anyone on our staff, they're all posted on KyleKirms.com. There's also a link to join the Discord there if you're interested. Let's have ourselves a great Friday night. It's a loaded weekend, NBA playoffs starting. Remember to bet responsibly, and I'll talk to you in the Discord.